Okay, so it looks like we found the front line. This must be. Even that glitch in transmission to go live. So this is, okay, interesting. Well, at least we're here. We've caught each other up. Now, I guess the firm thing, because this is to the Prime Minister, is say, well, we're on the same team. Don't ever fucking forget it, for a start. Secondly, what is Israel and what is Israel's role? Israel is a submarine, when you think about it. Israel is a submarine held by the autonomy of the Jewish faith. Who is the monarch? I don't know. And this is where I guess it is Charles. But then within that, do we have a firm enough understanding of these doctrine? And I will note now as well that I've had two Dexies this morning, which is probably tantamount to like a normal dosage for ADD. And this is to get up to speed with what this concept is, to come from that perspective. This is the same. This whole structure is the same snake with the same tail in its mouth. And we are rubbing up against an Islamic tension that also is the same snake. And that tension is being held very, in a way, and this is so that the only conclusion can be of the fault of the Jewish people. This is a sting, like a setup. When you think of the movie Blow, and they do that setup, Israel is the fall guy on behalf of the perceived Jewish religion or the Jewish tribes, Jewish people, to appease a Nazi narrative, but they have nowhere left to run. They have nothing left to do. And so that is a siege of a tone. So the entire Jewish people is under siege right now, globally, with a game, a geographical game that the Jews did not self-autonomize. It was created for them. And it's kind of like the world's sickest experiment. It's like, what will happen when you try and kill a people, then put them in a prison and constantly continue to try and kill them everywhere? So you are constantly pushing the Jewish people into the behavior that then you are criticizing. And what are they doing while this is going on? They're doing a vital piece of keeping that whole thing running as an exchange for the land rights And this is where this is like, in all transparency, I'm historically a little bit lost at this point. I'm like, it gets down to ownership as like a majorative force at a time period. That is like some serious level fucking shit. And I'm concerned that, I mean, my major concern is that there is absolutely actually nobody who knows the intricacies of those decisions to be able to do this. And so what does that mean? That means fresh negotiations from base principles. The only discovery we've found out from the Israel experiment is that, yeah, if you stick a gang in a fucking prison and then you overwhelm that gang, they will go fucking crazy. And they will probably go project that down to a lesser class. Palestine, because Israel's global thing had and this is the same. This is like the colonizer thing. It's like, well, we're all in that fucking ship. Will project down negatively towards who they've declared as their underclass. Each region will have their own underclass, and we have the same here. And you all tried to put me in the fucking underclass. But on what grounds? And that's where we go, well, it has to be on moral grounds. And that's where I fought my war. I fought my war on moral grounds. I spoke about violence. I didn't commit it. I spoke about horrific things. I spoke plainly of killing and murder and death. I didn't do it. And I kept myself small so that I could freely speak across the entire plane of that conversation. But how do you do that as a gang? And when you were imposed as a gang, because it is a gang. It's like, if we want to get down, and it's offensive to get down to like really simplistic arguments. If we get down to like a bunch of methed up, really organized, like sociopathic Germans tried to wipe an entire fucking people off the earth while high on meth, right? Running on the fucking fervor of their inventions. Like this, and this is the problem. It's like, if you saw the activities of a Nazi in the scaled down version of a playground, even I think at a very young age, you would look at that child and you would go, we've got to keep an eye on that one. Because of what it is. It's the ultimate trick. Even at the time of World War II, the Jews were already a lesser class. The Nazism isn't German. It exists it exists basically, and this is where I think it comes down to, in a group of men. I didn't say people. I said a group of men. More specifically, a group of young men, of adolescent men, with the hormones have just started, and there's that's I think the place where we're introduced to the devil. Let's think of that instead of thinking of the devil as a person that's in bed with Donald Trump. The devil is the thing for a man. I can only speak to men, and this is again, it's like, why is the Masonic thing to men? It's like, because I'm a man, I only really know how to speak to men, and sometimes I act like a woman in order to speak to men. And this applies in reverse. And so I have no problem really with women ever hearing or listening to anything, but I just assume they will take everything the wrong way. And they should, if they get anything out of what I do, they should find the parallel arguments to project to their own gender, I think. It's like at the moment, men are now dealing with two schools of men that are pretending to be women. Some of them are the most wonderful people on earth, and some of them are the most horrific, devilish people on earth. So there isn't a story of like There isn't a convenient story. All men who are dressing as women are this. No, that's stupid. And that we need to get quicker at making those adaptations. That's a stupid, childish fucking sandpit argument. That isn't it. How do we quickly assess that and restabilize? And you will always get down to local groups. You cannot control these wild fucking movements across the earth. They aren't, sorry, like, even I know this is a fucking tangent now, and this is probably because of the medication, but I guess to steel man the opposite side, which I would like to do in person. The problem is now it's like I only really want to speak to Albo. If that is a structure of the Labor Party, because now I just think it's like, well, the Labor Party is Albo. I think, and I understand, I'm understanding of his entrapment into that system. So I'm not. This is what I said. I started this out by saying I would like to have a conversation, and we're Australian. Don't forget it. First and foremost. If you can extend the same courtesy to try and understand my paradigm, which I think you will, I trust you will. I do trust that we don't live in a country where we would elevate someone who isn't capable of that. I have put a lot of effort into understanding the nuance of your argument and your incentives and your perhaps like your desires and your strategy. But right now, I think it's and this is like, I will now, what am I doing with this live? I hear the question from nobody, but I'll answer it myself. I'm putting up a firm federal opposition against the Labor Party from a perspective of, and I'll continue to call it the dark greens. I reject the concept that I need to be present to put up sufficient objection, or that I need to be invited. I will continue to stake my claim here until, in what I can only perceive as the inevitability that I end up in direct conversation with the Prime Minister. I believe that's probably where I'm operating from with everyone. And I believe this strategy now to focus on Israel is cowardly, is based on what can only be described as mob mentality, as opposed to like adequate historical framing and understanding and a care to be taken with the asset that you are steering. I think with that type of language, this will almost definitely be understood and respected. The only solutions forward I see and this is where I would like to project this to the UK, although I think, so when the structure is constantly changing, it lowers the responsibility felt to appease for misdeeds in the past. Now, I think this is an opportunity for Englishmen, and specifically Englishmen who follow the Jewish faith, to appropriately frame their missed calculations and then zoom out. This is what I call it, zoom out, to uncover the baseline conflict so that we can get out from the umbrella of counterfeit arguments going on. There is a core, and this is where and funnily enough, I heard Roseanne say it, that she was concerned there was a conspiracy to combine Christianity with Islam, and then to take Jerusalem. I would say that this is displaying the inevitable. This is like the double-edged sword of religious faith and dedication. If you are not constantly on an individual basis reaffirming your connections to God, and I think you will find a disparity between, if you are a persecuted religious minority, that puts emphasis more on you to maintain your traditions, and then they've had so much that they're so good at maintaining it that they maintain the whole spectrum of those Abrahamic faiths. And then it's almost like the simplification of the Nazi ideology. See, the Nazi ideology is different than the Islamic. The Islamic, especially the ones that are negative, and I forget which sect. It basically is the sect of the Muslim faith that is trying to bring to earth what was promised, and they see their pathway to do this is to destroy Israel, whereas Israel is defending its defending. Oh God! See, this is now we're fucking deep. I just think there is a, and I apologize for this because I am a little bit lost. I'll get back to the core things. We need to. There is no shortcuts with sending a message about Israel. I think this is perhaps the end of the Zionist experiment, because it is all that it is exposing is the friction between a nationalist identity and a religion. Now, if we think of the British Empire is the result of, basically it has to be King Edward VIII. That's why I do get awfully concerned that that's my line. Claiming autonomy to divorce And so this is it. We're just here. Now, I think if the Prime Minister is going to intervene into this place, being the captain of a ship that has such a slim, disconnected, nothing, like no one can actually even like say what that is at the moment. You're exposing the exact appearance of a puppet prime minister, because it is not at all appropriate for the actual condition that this country is in and what it's claiming. And so, and then I will say that appears to continuously be China. And so that from what our Prime Minister is saying about Israel, this is a thing that basically China has a problem with Israel. And that is because Israel and the Jewish community is keeping the fucking records of the laws, financial laws, property laws, and like the laws that were claimed by the Nazis to be, they're controlling the world. They weren't controlling the world. They're adjudicating the financials of the world, and the continuity of the world. And I think at any point it's easy to flip the whole board over and reset it. And that's what the Nazis tried to do. And this is what China is now not really trying to do. So you can kind of go, okay, well, they've got a really shit appearing puppet prime minister in Australia that is kind of their mouthpiece. And then it's balanced out by like no one actually believes that. So, that's a weird fucking place to be in as well. I do understand that there is a large cohort of individuals in Australia that like the benefits that we receive from cheap Chinese goods and the simplicity of their life, and and they're just getting down this. But I guarantee you that it's a trap. Unfortunately, there's no shortcuts. This country will adequately provide you with a very affordable piece of land if you look in a place that you will actually end up liking, and you put your work into that place, you will prosper. And that is what should be defended. That is the ideal of Australia, that you can very affordably purchase land, own it, held in faith and trust and defence by the British Empire, and do it. And that is what was attacked in me. So that is what I'm returning. And that is what Israel is. Israel was purchased, more than likely, and it is being owned by people that are trying to flip the board. And the way this same technique can be used in anything, but it won't. If you're already a terrorist organization, we expose your terror. Everyone's already knows that you're a terrorist. The only argument entities like Hamas are making is that, like, we have to use terrorism to expose things that this place is doing that's bad. And it's like, no. And also that there needs to probably be some responsibility taken by the global Jewish community, but then some things need to be understood, that they were pushed into this state of being covert because they tried to kill them all. So that's a very different place that they're coming from in order to do this. And they've done it. And so there needs to be now, I believe, an individual basis of like on the ground negotiation between those regions. And now I kind of see the whole point. This is why the Middle East has been doing for so long. It's like they want regime change so they can vote in, try and vote them to not be anti-Semites. But that's not going to happen. maybe to give to give a concept to Hamas, it's like, try somewhere else for a little bit. You know, there is, how many borders of Israel are there, including the border to the ocean? This section here it's like, move them to another border, to an outside border, as quickly as you can. And then expose that negotiation back, just real time. Send 150 at a time with coverage. It's like, this is an envoy of Palestinians, refugees, moving over to here. How are they treated? They're not going to be treated. They're not going to be let in. Palestinians, that's the place that you go if you want to be in that, or you were trapped there by just war and horrific, fucking terrible fucking things. I just think we need to get down to every we can find that photo, Mr. Prime Minister, anywhere. And that is, and it's like, do not be mistaken by the suit that you're wearing, or especially, you all seem to be wearing terrible fucking suits. The government, our parliament looks like a fucking, it does look like a vacuum cleaner warehouse, because it is. It turned into that by mistake. Okay. And this is like, how do we get, so the conversation really is, how do we get in Australia, stop talking about this horrific thing, stop presenting it forward, unless, you're going to be constructive in it. And then, what comes next after selling all these vacuum cleaners, Albo? Like, nothing. What does Albo's life look like? Well, what is he doing behind the scenes? What's his, what's he building? Where's he come from? And then nothing. So then it's the inevitable, well done for getting here. And thank you for keeping order on that side. Because I think you notice the lopsided parliament. It's like, yeah, why is it lopsided? Now comes the guilt. These are people. A balanced parliament is to be desired, because we're all Australian. That is a span. We span from, say, the most extreme person in the Liberal Party to the most extreme person in the Labor Party. We do span that, but we are a one country. And the reason it's lopsided is because that's the way that skills and optimal output does distribute. It distributes lopsided. And so I see the lopsided parliament as a victory, and an exposure of the underlying structure, and look forward to that being affirmed, as always. And yeah, start looking in your own house, and start answering questions. Why aren't my children here? Why are they still being held under your socialist system, your communist system, with nothing to look forward to, no skills, no base, nothing. That's what you've stolen from me, and that's far larger than a child. Really, you're using terrorism. You're displaying this. You're running the country like it's a World Vision ad, because that's all you know. You were raised by a television watching World Vision ads. You don't understand enough, and you are basically, I think, running out of your useful term for the people that are financing you to be there. But apart from that, you seem okay. So it's like, I want to see a transition strategy of who's next for the Labor Party that understands that. That understands this is a conversation now, because I don't think anyone there knows how to handle victory or handle that position of being superior. I don't, and that takes a long time to perfect. And so watching Albo fumble through that negotiation, through that talk for the next 3 years is going to be horrific. Yeah, we need to see someone from Australia, someone ready to step up, and the Labor Party, I'm sure, will think the same thing and present someone who has another trick up their sleeve. Or perhaps even better, someone who has no tricks up their sleeve, someone who's actually, got up to speed with what their position really is. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Could it happen? Yeah. I sometimes think of Jordan Shanks. I like to think of Jordan Shanks because he's high on the, promoting Labor. And basically what I thought from now on, I'm going to present this as if I'm presenting to Jordan Shanks, and I'm going to present to a way that we end up having a conversation, exposing all the things, and, we have the odd disagreement on a thing. And I think that's where Parliament lives, when it does its job properly and when it stops using it, when it stops hocking itself down at the fucking corner. Thanks.